Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Vamsi.
Sir, Satish sir, can we start the workshop, sir?
Yes, Vamsi, go ahead.
Lohika, please carry on.
Sir, and good afternoon to all the dignitaries and my dear friends. This is K. Lohika of 3x4 EC. I feel privileged to extend my warm welcome to all presented here for the workshop on Introduction to Web Development. It's my pleasure to welcome Dr. R. Satish Garu, IEEE Faculty Coordinator, Associate Professor of ECE Department, Dr. T. Venkateswara Rao Garu, IEEE Senior Member, IEEE Sir CRR COE Student Branch Counselor, Professor and Head of the ECE Department. Now I heartily welcome our today's presenter, Omar Sir, Full Stack Developer at DAWSET. Thank you for accepting our invitation, sir. I request Dr. R. Satish Garu to speak a few words.
Yeah, thank you, Lohika. Today's resource person, Omar Bestavi, full stack developer at DAWSET, and Dr. T. Venkateswara Garu, head of the Department of ECE, Subsidiary College of Engineering, and IEEE student executive body members, and all student participants. A very good afternoon to you all. At the outset, I would like to congratulate IEEE student branch team for organizing this event. In fact, we have organized one such event earlier with Mr. Harini. If I'm not wrong, her name was Mr. Harini from USA. A similar program we have conducted earlier, and I also request IEEE executive body members to conduct such type of events in coming future also, because the light is being reflected towards web development. That seems to be the center of everyone's attraction, because we have seen during the pandemic time that everyone have been developing their own web app and web pages to give information regarding COVID related details. And nowadays we have seen how effectively the websites are being operated to give the details of vaccination centers and availability of vaccines at various nodes that we've seen. So with this, I can say that the web development is one of the best career options nowadays, because of the artificial intelligence, machine learning techniques, all were being included in development, and it has a faster rate of growth in web development. So with this, I would like to tell all the participants to utilize this opportunity effectively, and I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, Lohika. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. I request Dr. T. Venkateswara Garu to speak a few words.
Thank you, Lohika. So today's chief guest and resource person, Omar Bestavi Garu. So good afternoon, sir. I congratulate the executive body members who is very interestedly arranging this program. I know how difficult it is to such a resource person incompatible to your youngster thoughts. So I'm very thankful to the Umar sir. I know the registered students are very limited as per the advice of our resource person, I know that. So a smaller group definitely will learn the many things. In this contest, I request the executive body members to record everything and ask various queries, whatever you want. And I think Omar sir will definitely give the same. And also the students who are really interested in this web development, I know some of the students, as Dr. Satish said, from the day onwards, the Harini madam used the introduction. Some of the students are doing well. I know these students are engaging in designing our college websites and all. So in this contest, you should be a resource person for your juniors. So in the next time, you have to design your own your own program. So with this, I'm very, very happy. Once again, I'm thanking you, sir, Umar Bistavi Garu, for accepting our invitation. And also our principal and management conveys their wishes to you, sir. Definitely, this will be a fruitful session from you. And thank you very much. Over to Harini.
Thank you, sir. I request CH Parthavamsi of 3x4 EC, the Secretary of IEEE Student Branch, to introduce our today's chief guest.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce our webinar speaker, Omar Bistavi. He is a graduate computer engineer from Anna Najaf National University. His main expertise lay in web development. He worked as a full-stack web developer for around 3 years. He organized many events that supported the youth in Palestine as a board member in AIN ANNU student branch and IEEE ANNU student branch. And also he won many national and international competitions such as Step with All Nijak Association and first place in IEEE Global Student Branch website contest. He also presented the Palestinian youths in lot of conferences and events such as GES, which stands for Global Entrepreneurship Summit, and AAIS, which stands for Arab Artificial Intelligence Summit. Thank you.
I request Omar sir to start the session.
Okay, thank you, Rahika. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to all the seniors and the executive committee to work on this session and to organize it and allow all the participants and allow anyone who might benefit from it to join us. And also, we hope that you all will benefit from this session. I won't talk a lot. I will dive directly into the session and get to the work and let you all start learning and getting to know more about web development. Specifically, we will focus on this session on the front end development. We will talk more about it during this session. And I hope that anyone, if you feel that you have any question or you feel that I am talking too fast or I am too slow, I need to talk to fasten the rhythm a little bit, feel free to raise your hand, ask your question, share your notes with all of us. The session will be interactive. It will need work from your side, work from my side, work from the team leader side. We will describe how we will go through the session. During each part of the session, you will talk about how we will go through this part of the session. And this is it as a quick intro, and let us share my screen and start the presentation. Just a moment. Okay. Share. Can you see my screen?
Yes, Omar, it's visible.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. So as the session title was said, it's like intro to web development, or to be more specific, it will be more intro for the front end side for web development. As I understand, most of you don't have a prior experience in web development. I just want to take a quick poll to see how many people have tried to do anything in web development. If you have tried, just raise your hand so that I can take a quick note on the numbers. Okay. So this is good. As far as I see, most of us are on the same level. We are all intro to the web development. So we will take the things really slowly and describe each part of it independently. So what we mean by HTML, CSS, JavaScript, what are these languages? What are these terms? Basically, we call them like the holy triangle for web development. They are the core for any website that you can see. For example, if let's go to the next slide. Let us open a web page quickly. Like let's open google.com. And we see this page when we open it, right? But how was this page constructed? It was basically constructed of three main components. The first component is HTML, which is this really ununderstandable code that we don't know a lot of it, but it's really easy to understand what you get the basics of it. This part of the code we call HTML. The second part is the CSS of this page. We will describe what we mean by CSS and what it actually do in the web page, what it is rule during the session. And the last part, and here is the CSS. You can see it on the left side. It's part of it, but this is how CSS is constructed usually. Okay, the last part, it is like JavaScript. What is JavaScript? It's a programming language. I think that most of you have a prior experience in C++ or Python or a kind of a programming language. It's really nice. The JavaScript is like really nice programming language, and you will enjoy it a lot while you are learning it. We will talk more about what it actually do on this page and where we use it, how we use it, also during the session, but let us leave everything at its appropriate time. So let us first talk about HTML, the first component of web development. Basically, HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. And what we mean by markup is like, you see this structure here. It's basically like we have open tag, close tag, and some info inside that are structured in the way that you see. We will describe the structure a little bit more. Just to confirm a point, only the first 10 minutes will be like a descriptive part where I only talk about some basic knowledge. Then we will dive more to the practical work and to test things out so that you get more or understand more what we mean about HTML. Okay, so let's talk about the HTML anatomy. So we mentioned that we have a structure, an XML structure, a markup language, and we usually have a specific form that we need to follow in each HTML tag. Here we see a really popular HTML tag that we call a paragraph. This HTML tag consists of, as you can see, from an element. This part here, let me change the color for I think to be better. Just a moment. Like you see here, this is what we call a tag we have an opening tag that have these two symbols and closing tag. The only difference between opening and the closing is that it has this forward slash. And between them, we can also have another tag, or we can have the text. Okay. Let us move to the next part. Just a moment. Clear. Okay. So here we will start work to get a better understanding. It is always better to test things out in our hand, and just let me clear the screen. Okay. It's always better to test things in our hand and get a hang of what is. Let me close this. For HTML, every web page that we have will consist of these two tags, the head and the body tags. Here you can see a sample of them. What is the head tag? What is the body tag? For the head tag will be any info that I want to give for the browser, and it's usually things that are not shown on the page, like the let us say here we can put the CSS of the page, we can put the title of the page. Let me just show this to you, and live will be better. Just a moment. Okay, now we have, can you see the VS Code screen?
Omar, could you just increase the size?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, it's better now.
Okay, so as you see here, we have an empty text document that only have a head tag. You see here is the opening tag and the closing tag, a body tag, and all of them are encapsulated in an HTML tag. This is the base structure for anything that is HTML. Let us open this page live and see what this title tag do for us. Okay, let us open it in here and this one in here. Okay, do you see the title of the page? Currently, what it is set to document. If we try to change it to sample and save, you will see that the title has changed. Anything that we usually put in the head tag won't be, we don't want to show it in the page. Okay, and anything that we put in the body tag, we will be shown on the page, like the paragraph tag that we shown. Here we can see it now in the page. Okay, just we need to understand only from this whole point two main things. The structure that we have in each HTML file, we have a body and head. These are the main components. Both of them are encapsulated in an HTML. Okay, and in the head we put anything that we do not want to show on the page. Just let me do not want to show on the page, and here anything that we want to show on the page. We will talk more about what is actually in the head on later byte. It's like more for the search engine and some advanced stuff, but it's like we won't need to know it at the current moment. Okay, so let us back here. Now we will talk about another important part of the HTML word, which is the head tag, and we talked about paragraph tag a little bit. What are these tags? These tags basically, as you see here, we can have them for titles of the page, subtitles of the page. Let us see how they actually look on the page. During the session, you can join and interact with me. This is like the first part where we will interact and try to write something. We will use two tools to help us do our work. The first tool is called JSPen. It's for anyone that is working on mobile, because as I understand, you can work on mobile using this tool. Here we will type all of our HTML and CSS and JavaScript, and we can see the output here. If you are on a desktop, you can also work on something called JSFidel. It's really similar to, just a moment, I will send the links in the chat now. It's similar to JSPen, but have a different UI and some auto-completion options that might help you. I will work on JSPen during all the session, or VS Code, just so that I can have a better, you have a better look on the screen. Okay. So let us go to where we stopped here. We have these tags. Feel free to try to test them out on JSPen while we are working on them. As you can see here, we have like a title one, the main header, usually H1 or for the blog post title, for the main title of the page, main text of the page, and H2 for subtitles, subsections, and things like that. We keep going down from H1 till we reach H5. And we have the paragraph tag. Okay. It's really simple. Like, let us try to construct, like we have here H1. We want to add a paragraph after it, like, let's say, everything is clear. Here we can see it that it came under the title one. Okay. Feel free to just let me send the links for you. Let us have like 4 minutes to try to test our way out on the first link that I sent to you all. We only need the HTML tab and the output tab. We do not need the CSS and JavaScript at this moment. Let us give you 5 minutes to try to test things out. If you have any question, feel free to ask it. We will split us to 5 different groups. 7 different groups. We will go. Each group will have one leader that will help you if you have any question. Basically, just try to add another H1 tag, another H2 tag, things like that. We will only have 5 minutes to try to anything we want in this page, just to get a hang of these basic elements of HTML. Once we get a hang of it, we will fasten the rhythm and cover more things a lot faster. Okay?
Yeah, Omar, can I start the breakout room?
Yes, if you have.
Yeah, just like
May.
Yeah, guys, you can join in the breakout rooms. You have got the invitations. And if anyone not assigned, just speak out once. I mean, 405. Please go to your respective, respective rooms. You will all get requests. Omar, I think
Yes.
you can join the room which you need.
Okay. I will go through all of the rooms.
Yeah, sure, Omar.
This is a small session, not a
Yeah,
long one.
I request all the students to join in the breakout rooms. సతీష్ సార్, హెచ్ఓడి సార్, సార్ మీరు ఏ రూమ్ కావాలంటే ఆ రూమ్ లో జాయిన్ అవ్వచ్చు సార్.
వంశీ, ఓకే ఓకే
Yes, sir,
వంశీ.
for observation purpose. I request all the participants to join in the breakout room. Your volunteers are waiting there. Yeah, Omar, you can join any room, Omar. You are the co-host. I think you have the access.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I request 410, 17 series 410, 17 series 43, 19 series 410. Please join in your Lohika's room as your volunteer is waiting for you.
Okay, I think everyone is out now. So I hope that you were able to test things out. We will have like a big task a little bit ahead that we will, each one of you need to work in and get the hand or test HTML more to his liking. So the next part that we will talk about is something called HTML hierarchy. What we mean by that? If we notice when we open the Google page, oh sorry, not this. We have a body, under the body we have div, under div we have another div, and under div we have another div. And it's like really a big tree that gets bigger as we dive more into it. We need to understand something really important, which is how these elements are associated with each other. We have like, we have like in body, we might have a div tag. We will talk more about div a little bit more after a couple of minutes, but suppose it's a tag, suppose it's a person, it's a image, it's a tag, an HTML tag. And inside this tag, we might have another tag like the title, and we might have a paragraph. Notice that the head, the head, the title, and the paragraph are siblings. They are both under the same level. They are both neighbors to each other. And both of them are also, just let me, okay. And both of them are also children to the div tag. And they are also a grandchildren to what? To the body tag. And the grandchildren relation may be further, like go for 6, 7, 8, unlimited number of children. Like you might have 1,000 ancestor, and it's okay. You can, when this will help us, it will help us in the CSS part. We need to understand how these elements are associated with each other. We have mentioned 3 kinds of relations till now. The first one is siblings. This one is the sibling to this one. They are both under the same level. This one is a child to a div, and also this one. Also, both of these are grandchildren to whom? To the body. This, we call it HTML hierarchy, and it will benefit us when we do the styling of the page, when we do to interact with these elements using JavaScript or to select a specific element. We'll talk more about this during the CSS part. So now we will talk about something that is called HTML attributes. What are those? Basically, when we say like we have a name, or we have a div, or we have an image, we can assign a special kind of variable to it, a special kind of property to it. This kind of properties, we usually call them attribute in HTML. And they basically structured like this. Before we put the content of the element, and in the opening tag, we simply add as much as we want of attributes. Okay. Any attribute may have a name or a value. Okay. Let us see an example of an actual HTML element with some attributes. Here we can see the image tag. The image tag is an HTML tag that will allow us to add an image to the page. Okay, the image tag might have more than one property. We might have a source, an alt, a width, and a height, and a lot more. It's always, and here I will take the opportunity to show you the #1 reference for all web developers or anything. It's like the W3 school. That's like HTML. We always, to find what are the attributes that are available for any attribute, we go to each reference. Like here, the W3 school will have most of the HTML attributes, HTML elements, and what attributes they get. Let us see what are the available attributes for the HTML tag. Here we can see, well, not this one, sorry. Here is it. We can have an alt. What we mean by alt? It's like when I hover over a picture like this one, we see this pop-up that describe what this picture is. And also in case the page failed to load the page or failed to load the image, we will have what is inside the alt element. Okay, we have the height of the like this one. It's like might be 5 centimeters, 6 centimeters. In web, we do not work with centimeter. We work with something that we call pixels, but we will leave that till CSS part. Okay, and you can have a lot of, you can check the attributes of any HTML tag. So let us try it out together. just here to see how the image tag actually works. So let's show it for you in here. Okay. Now let us try to type the image tag. As we said, we have the image. We want to add it. Where is the source of this image? It's always will be a link. Let us get a quick picture from the internet. Let's get this picture, for example. Okay. And after the source, I don't want to add anything else. Okay. Notice that in the image tag, we didn't close it. We have closed it in this way. Why we close it like this? We said that usually we have a opening tag and a closing tag, right? But in case of an image, I don't have anything that I want to put it in here. I don't have a content. Most of the image properties are passed where as an attribute. So there is no need to add a closing image tag like this. Since I don't have anything in here, we can close it like this. Okay, if we check the page, can you see? Just a moment. Okay, let us try to add an alt. Currently, if I hover over the image, I don't see anything. If I add an alt tag, we can see sample.
Omar, we can't see the coding part.
Sorry. Sorry. Now you can see it.
Yeah, Omar, it's clear.
Okay, sorry for that. Okay, so we said that in the alt tab, if the page didn't load correctly, like let us remove this. What we have now is the alt representation of the image. But if we return it back, we can see the image loaded successfully. And let me repeat what the part that I mentioned about the opening and closing tag. We mentioned something like this. At the beginning of the presentation, we said that we will always have an opening tag and a closing tag. The closing tag is like this. But in some cases, I don't have anything to put between these two tags, like the image tag. The image tag is simply, I have a picture and I want to load it. And I have some other properties for this picture, but I do not need to have like it like this. Awesome. Okay. So as a way to make it easier, there is a shorthand for this, is to simply close it like that. Okay. So this is for the HTML attributes. Let us quickly revise them. We say that we can have for each HTML tag an attribute. The attribute may have a name and also may have a value. Okay, so we can have multiple attributes also. So now I will, before we go to the long tags that we will work on, let us quickly review this HTML cheat sheet. It's like a reference, like how when we go to HTML, to W3 School, we can see a lot of HTML elements that we can use. Just let me scroll to it just a moment. Here, we can see a lot of HTML tag that we can use. This cheat sheet, let me send the link for you. Summarize the most important HTML tags that we might have. Let us, we will review a couple of them together now. Okay, so let us first review the list element tag. Okay, the list element tag is like basically when we have like these list items, okay, we can have it like an ordered list, like this one. I have a unordered list and the list item. UL is a shorthand for unordered lists, and LI is a shorthand for list item. Okay, now if we saved it and check the page, you can see that we have these list items. Usually we use this for the navigation bar for any website that, like, if we opened here, these might be a list items. Of course, we can modify the look of these items using CSS, but we will leave that till we reach the CSS part. If we go back to the cheat sheet, just a moment, there is also the ordered list. Let us change this to OL to check it out. You can see that now it is numbered, not a circle, filled circle. Okay, sorry. We have the video element where we can show a video. The emphasize is if we want to emphasize a certain part of that, like how you see the word now, it's like emphasized. We also have the let us talk, we will leave the div till we reach the CSS part. Just leave it here. Here he's talking about the HTML structure and closing tag, how the attributes name and value. The BR is basically if I have a long line, a long text, and I simply want to go a new line. HTML won't recognize this new line. It will always like list everything together. If I want to force a new line, I need to add this tag. Okay, we can add the closing. And this is it for most of the HTML. Now it will all fall under, I have a tag that I want, but I have a thing that I want. I need to go to see what is the associate tag. For example, let us say that I want to have a link, an HTML link. We basically try to search for the HTML link tag. Okay, and we can check it, but here the link is for the CSS. Like what we want is like the clickable link. Sorry, this is a mistake on my side. Well, we call it anchor on HTML. Okay, the anchor tag, it's like one of the most important HTML tags or most used HTML tags. It basically have, let us show it to you what it do. If I want to go to a page, how I can inform the HTML that I have a page that I want to visit? Basically, I put the URL of the page, let's say google.com, inside the href hyperlink reference attribute inside the anchor tag. Okay, and I will set the text of this anchor link between the opening tag and closing tag. Now I can see that there is a link in the page. If I click on it, it will open the google.com page. Okay, so the best way to make sure that you get the hang of everything and understand is by doing real work, a real example. This example might take some time from you. We will give you about a 20 minutes, 25 minutes to try to do it. Basically, what we will try to create in this task is to create a main image, add a main image to the page, a main title, small paragraph about this blog post that we are doing, and 2 subcategories. Here is an example of a quick blog post. Oh, and you notice that most of the pages that we have are basically empty pages. There is no styling, they are not visually appealing. And all of this because we are currently working with HTML only. We do not touch anything on CSS. You will get to the CSS part. And here is a quick peek about how the page will look without CSS. And here is how it will look after we add CSS. At the beginning, it will need some time just to get the hang of it, but basically we can't build any web page without using the 3 main or any production ready or user ready web page without using the 3 main element of a web front-end development, which are HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So this is the task that we are going to try to make. We will go to to the breakout rooms. We will have, now the time is like 3:30, I think, on your side.
It's 3:30.
Yes, 3:30 on your side. We will come back at 3:55. Okay.
Oh, okay, Amar. I am starting the breakout rooms.
Okay. If you
Yeah,
have
guys.
any questions, you can raise a request. The team leader will help you. And if you want me, you can call for the host or call for help using the Zoom properties, and I will come to see you. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, guys. Volunteers, try to take your guys in your rooms. I'm opening the rooms. Please go on. Good afternoon, madam. I request other participants also to join the breakout rooms. Dinesh. Dinesh and A4. మీ రూమ్స్ కి మీరు వెళ్ళండి or else yeah, Umar, how is the work going on? I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
how is the workshop going on by volunteers?
good. I was going through them. Just ask them to make, if possible, to try to engage the participants more. Let them try to, if possible, share their screen, try to work out together to solve any hard problem
Umar,
they find.
actually, I informed that actually they are doing. I mean, they are changing all of them. All of the volunteers I have informed to them.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah,
How have you seen the session till now?
yeah, Umar, it's a great, Umar, and I just need to be little slow by you. I mean, the speed of the session. Can you slow down?
Okay, I will try my
Yeah,
best to slow as much as I can.
yeah, Umar.
There is someone in the waiting room.
Yeah, Umar, just accept it.
Okay.
Omar, is communication with the students is okay, or else any sort of problem you are facing?
Could you repeat? I didn't hear you.
Actually, is there any problem with the communication?
No, no.
Ah,
Can you hear me? Is there any
yeah,
problem
yeah.
in my connection?
No, not at all. Actually, in the communication purposes, I just asked, is there any issue with our students or else?
No, no.
Okay, thank you, Amma.
Welcome. Okay, I think they all have returned. So just let us now try to go together over a sample solution for this task. Just quick. Before going, is there any problem or there any question you want to ask?
Guys, you can ask your questions through the chat box, or else you can directly speak out.
Okay. So let us first, it's a really simple task. We will go over it quickly. We simply add an image, like here is the title of the page. Okay, we add also an image. This is the image that we have added. The title. Do not, you see this class, this can be used for styling purposes. Anything that we see class, we will talk about it during CSS. Just leave it for now. Here we have added an H5 tag for the author of this page and H6 tag, and the rest can go on. Simple paragraph. We added an H2 tag for the city name. And here we have added simple paragraph text along with an anchor. Okay. The anchor lead to a new website, and here is the top attractions that they can do. Okay, so it's like really basic. Anything, any element we want to add to our HTML, simply add an open tag, add the content, close the tag. In some cases, add an open tag, add an attribute, and close it. Like some elements like the unordered list might have child elements to it. Okay, and this is it for most of the things that you will need to get a basic understanding of HTML. Okay, and also make sure that W3 School or Mozilla reference, Mozilla archive are your reference for anything that you want regarding HTML. You will find everything or all the tags that you might need during developing any web page. And a quick note, during the last half an hour or the last, it depends on the time that we left after we finish everything, I will show you like some quick, nice websites, nice templates, nice frameworks that will help you to build your own personal websites that will fasten and reduce the amount of work that is needed to build any website. But we will leave that for the later part of the session. So for now, I will, before moving to CSS, I will share a link with all of you on the chat. We will have a couple of questions. I hope that you can help us answer it, just to make sure that everyone got everything. Okay, I got everything. Please confirm once you open the page.
Guys, you can ask your doubts, anything there.
Have you opened the page? If you opened, I will start the first question now. Okay, let us start with the first question.
Omar,
Yes.
you can also use the polls here also, Omar.
Okay.
Yeah, in Zoom you have a poll option also.
But I just need time to create them.
Guys, just open the page and just answer the questions.
How many we have? 36. Okay, we have 36 participants, and for now 11 have answered. Okay, once we reach 2022, I will show the correct answer. Just 1 minute and I will show the correct answer. Okay. So the correct answer is the H1 tag. Okay, I see that some of you have answered with the title. The title tag, it is the what we use to set. Just let me show you here. I think that's the page. Okay, the title tag is this tag. It is that set the title of the tab, not the main title of the page. The main title of the page is inserted inside the H1 tag. You were really close. Okay, let us move to the next question. Oh. This one is a little bit hard or might be somewhat tricky.
Guys, please answer the questions. It will help you to clarify your doubts also. You just not need to answer in the, I mean, just not to ask the questions also. Just directly answering, we can understand what is the level which you are learning. So we can teach you according to that.
Just to clarify some points, external page is any page that is not on your website. Like, for example, if I am on google.com and I want to go youtube.com, this is an external page. But if, like, let's say that I am on a Facebook homepage and I want to go to the Facebook videos page, this is an internal page. Part of the page, like if I am in the top part of the page and I want to go to the lower part of the page, or like I am at the bottom of the page and I click on a button or thing and I get to the top of the page. This is a part of the page. Out of the above, if it is all the answers. Okay, let us show the correct answer. I know you were shocked about it. It's like we can use it for anything. The anchor tag isn't only used for the external page. Okay, we can, let us show you a sample of it. If we have here and here, we open the sample page. Like here we have an external link. It is google.com. Here we can add an internal link like our current website. Let us suppose that our website was facebook.com. If we put the link like this, like video, then we'll be redirected to an internal page. Also, if we want to go to a section of the page, we simply add the hash. We didn't cover this. Is an info that I like to make it as a question to make it stick in your minds, or that I hope that you will remember it more. Okay, so the anchor tag isn't only used for external links. It can be used for external, internal, and on-page links. Okay, for the last question. What I mean by search engine is like a Google, Yahoo, Bing, things like that. 1 minute and I will show the correct answer. Okay. Most of you got this one right. It's to hold all the visible content of the dish. That's correct. So for now, before moving on to the CSS part, is there anything that you wish to ask or anything unclear. As I said, HTML is really easy. It do not need that a lot of explanation. The most important things that you need to understand is how it is constructed, like the structure of HTML. The HTML hierarchy is a really important part, and also how we can organize. What is the use for the most basic HTML elements, and to keep the W3 School or the Mozilla reference always available to you, and get back to it if you want anything. Okay. And this is it for the HTML part. Before moving to CSS, any question? If no, then we shall move to the styling, or as they say it, cascaded style sheets. Okay, the cascaded style sheets are basically what give the page it's really nice looking. As you can see, we took a peek on this picture just a couple of minutes ago, or just during the session. As you see on the left, it's a really nice page where everything is aligned, and at least it's somewhat visually appealing. While on the right page, we can see how it became after we removed the CSS from it. Okay, we will get to the forms in HTML during the later part of the session. Once we finish all of the basics in the HTML and CSS and JavaScript. This was a question that I see in chat. So as I was saying, the left is like how the page look without CSS, with CSS. On the right, how it will look without CSS. Okay, so we are talking about CSS. So where should I put this CSS thing? Where can I put it? Generally, we have 3 places where we can put CSS on it. The first one is in the head tag. As we mentioned, the head tag is for anything that won't be rendered, that won't be displayed on the screen. The CSS basically is like, we tell the browser like, this element in HTML should look like this. Please change the font of this element to be at this size. Please animate or move this element using this transition. All of these info are stored in the CSS file. Okay, this is the way that we add a CSS file to or link a CSS file to our HTML. The first step that we need to do, just let me show it to you. We can create a CSS file like this one. Okay. And this CSS file, I need to add it. If I want to link it to the HTML document, simply I will type the link tag. Okay. I will add just a moment, the location of the CSS file, which is in our case the joint.css. And I will also put the type of it, which is type equal text CSS. Okay. There is no need for the style sheet. Just this is like a way to tell the browser what kind of a relation is this, but it's not that important. Style sheet. Okay. So once I add it, I can modify or do anything that I want in this page. Let us say, just for a quick example, I have a h1 tag and it's like sample title. As you can see here, just let us show you. Oh, not this one. Oh. Okay. So if we go to Junk CSS, I want to change the color of this h1 tag to be blue, for example, can you see how it changed? I can change the font size of it. It's like 50 pixels. If I want, I can change the body. We will talk more about this syntax and how it's constructed. Just a more, I want to show you how this thing just let us set the background to be something. Let's set it for black, and here make this white. Okay. So this is the first place where we can put CSS. It is in the head tag. Okay. We can add it also in other places, like directly in the same file, not in separate file. We will add the HTML tag that is called style, and at whatever we want inside this style tag. It's located inside the head because we don't want to show it to the page. Okay. And the last part, or the last place where we can put it, is directly inside the HTML tag. All the HTML tags have, or HTML elements have, this style property, a style attribute, where I can put CSS code in it. Okay. So let us talk more about the structure of CSS. As you can see, we have a selector. It's like we tell the browser that the element that I want to apply this chunk of code on it is this one, is any element that have this kind of selector. In this case, it's a paragraph tag. So any paragraph that is available in my HTML will be colored what? In blue. Okay. This is the way that we style it if we want to put it in as an attribute, not in a separate file or on inside the style tag. Here we have the declaration block. Every CSS, after we have the selector, we have an open curly brackets and the closing curly brackets. And inside it, we put any styling that we want. Okay. The last part is like we have each CSS property have a name and have a value. Okay. Each CSS property will have a name and a value, and notice the semicolon that is at the end of each CSS property. Okay. This is the way that CSS is generally structured. So we will talk now about CSS selectors. What we mean by CSS selectors? The selectors are basically like this. Here, this selector will select all the HTML elements that have the h1 tag. Here we will select all the HTML elements that has the ID. Notice this is the first time that we mentioned the attribute ID. What is this attribute ID? Let us go to VS Code and talk more about it. It's a really important thing that we need to understand. The difference between ID and the class, just between ID and the class. What is the difference between this symbol and this symbol? Okay. To first understand what these symbols mean, we need to go to create a sample code. Let's say here we have a class, and here we have an ID. These two elements are the same as the style tag, the style attribute, sorry. They will be available in every HTML element. You can attach it to any HTML element. Okay. And just a note, in HTML, you are not forced to use only these tags. You can use anything else that you want, but usually you won't use this special attribute that created without JavaScript, or you will only use it for JavaScript purposes. If I want like to add a special data type or a special thing, but this is kind of an advanced thing. Let's leave it, but it's, do not think that I can only use the tags that are referenced in W3 School or the Mozilla reference or any HTML reference. I can use anything, but basically all the active HTML attributes are the ones that are, all the attributes that have an effect on this tag are the ones that are listed in the HTML documentation. So let us go back to describe the difference in class and ID. Usually what we mean by class is, or usually class is used for styling purposes. Like I can say this class is for the, let's change it for H2 here. Okay. And this class is for author name. Okay. And I can also use another H2 tag for the date. Okay. But you notice that each one of them has a different class. While I can also, usually the ID is used more for the forms purposes, or like this is, let's say here we have a field, not I don't want to talk about the input for now, let's leave it for later, but let's say that this is a paragraph. This paragraph is for the name of the person, and here we have the birth date. Here the ID will be name, and here the ID will be what? Birth date. While the class for both of them will be field. Okay. Just think. So till now we have 4 things. The 2 titles, both of them have different classes. 2 fields that have same class but different what? ID names. Okay. Now let us go to the CSS. Let's open it in a different tab, and we will show you the CSS here. Here I want to apply make the author name a little bit bigger than the date. Okay, if I do it the old way, like add H2 and type the font size to be 20 pixels, for example, the pixels here, the pixels is the measurement units in the web. Okay, or generally in digital design, not in web only, like how we see centimeter or millimeter or meter on the metric measurements. This is like or print, anything that's related to printed media. Pixel is used for anything that is related to digital design. It represents, think of it as simply as a measurement unit. We won't talk a lot about what it actually represents because it will take a lot of time. Say, let us show you how this will show now. Not this one. Here you can see the sample title and sample title. Once I save this, or let us put it to okay, let us put it here to 50 pixels. Notice how the titles could be carried. I don't want this. I don't only want to apply this. It changed the font size only to the author. I can simply put dot author name. And now this change will only apply to where? To the author name. If I want to apply like the date, I want to change its color to be more like blue. this change will only be applied to the date. The same thing can be said for fields. That usually, if we open any form in the internet, we can see that these fields have a general same UI, the same feeling. Let us open a sample form like here in Google. Or let's open something that has a sign up. Do you see the sign up here? These both of them are fields here, this one and this one, but they both have the same UI, the same feeling. If I want to do this, I simply assign both of them the same class, and I will, like, let's say the color of them will be this color. I don't know how to say. Okay, let us open it to see how it will look now. You see both of them now have the same element regardless of the ID. Let us say that the ID is usually used with JavaScript. If I say that I want to get element in JavaScript, I can get the value that is inside this field. We'll leave this part for the JavaScript part, but usually the ID is used with JavaScript and the class is with CSS, but we can also use the class for, let us say that I want the ID, the name to be font size to be a little bit bigger than the usual, let's say 15 pixels. And I can see the name got a smaller than birthday. Okay. We have other measurements tools in web, but we won't talk about them like CREM and M. But these are relative to the character height, but we won't talk about them at the moment. Just it's if you want to take more about them, because the measurements in itself will take a lot of time to talk about it. So let us keep things simple with pixels for now. So to summarize things, we have two attributes that are always available in every HTML tag. These attributes are called the class and ID. Usually, both of them can be used for styling. When I want to access a specific class, I can use the dot sign to access this class in the CSS. If I want to access ID, I use the hash sign, hash symbol, followed by the name of the ID. And then I can apply whatever CSS I want to the element that I have selected, or the elements if they are more than one, as in the field name of field, case of field. Okay, is everything clear about HTML and CSS? Basically, about class and ID, basically they are selectors as a way to select specific elements in the HTML template. Okay. So after we covered the main basic elements, we can let us go to some chaining things like logical operations. There is no logical operations, but as you see here, this comma means that the or, it's similar to the or or in programming. For example, I want to apply everything that is inside this, that is here, to all the elements that have the ID, my ID, or the B tag. Okay. As in here, I want to, for example, I might have this class attached to an H1 element and also a paragraph element. Okay, but I only want to apply this to the H1 tag that have the my class class. Okay. Why this one is related to the HTML hierarchy. For example, let us open here. If we say something like this, Just a moment. Like this. Here I have a div, and inside the div I have another div, and inside this one I have, here I have, let's say, a h1 tag, and here I have a span. We'll talk about div span in a moment. And here I have a paragraph. Okay. So if I want to access this paragraph, how can I access it? Notice that I also have a paragraph in here. So if I try to access it using only the paragraph tag, I will be modifying all this one and this element, and this element, also this element. Notice I will be modifying 3 different elements if I use the B tag. If I assigned a ID here, I can access it directly using the ID that I have assigned to it, like this. But not in some cases, I want to access every B tag that is inside this div. How can I do this? We can do it simply by typing div space. This space means that all the descendants of this div, like if there is a B tag inside this div, then this HTML, this CSS will be applied to it. Okay. Like if this B tag will have, let's type B1, and here I will type B2, and here I will type B3. Okay. So let us test this out. We will make the background color to be black and the color to be white. Let's make this. Oh, why? Okay. It's white. Okay, let us see how this will show on the browser. Okay. Can you see here now? This B2 and B1 have been modified to be red, while B3 wasn't modified. Also this B or this B, because I have only applied it to div that have a B tag. Okay. If I only want to apply it to this B, not this B, I can use this symbol, which means the direct descendant. Only the children of mine. I do not care about the children of my children's, like here. This is like, this div is the grandparent of this B, while div is the parent of this paragraph. So only this paragraph will have its value modified. Okay. So this is regarding there are also another selectors, like this is for the sibling. This is this for the direct sibling, but we won't cover them. Each one of these selectors we will talk about them just in a moment, but the most used one are this space one and the direct descendant one. Okay. So for now, also we will have here this effect. Like notice how when I am in this page, when I hover with my mouse over here, this button, notice how its background change. This is what the hover effect means. If if I have an HTML element, in case it was selected, it was disabled, it was hover. I can listen to these kind of actions and apply a certain kind of CSS to it. Like here, I changed the background color. It used to be white. Let me show you. Here, focus here. It used to be white, but if I hover with my mouse over it, it will be what? More tend to gray. Okay. And here I can apply it to an HTML tag that have this attribute, and this attribute must equal to EN. We won't cover this. It's like, this is a use case. Now, one of the most important things about CSS is the box model. Just before, after this, we will try to have a small session or small practice to make sure that you have everything and to make things interactive as possible. Okay, the box session is like a box model is every HTML element that we have, regardless of its source, like here, will be bound, will be in its own box, will have his own box, like this one. Could you see this? This sample title will have this bounding box. The blue area is the box of that. This one had this blue area, has this one. Let us check it on the slides. We will see something similar to this, like here. You see the box for each element, regardless of how it was written, we need to be bounded in a box. Okay, this box have 4 main sections. The first one is the content, where everything that is being rendered, like that content of the paragraph, will be held in here. The padding is the space between the content and the borders. Let us show it here live on a live example. Okay, here you see this. Let us show it in this one. The H1, if I want to add a border to it. Okay, let us add a border and set the border width to be 5 pixels. Border. Just a moment. Always keep W3 School as your reference or CSS border. Okay, I was forgetting the style. Order style dashed. Let us make it. You see the border? This is the border. If I added a padding to this, notice where the text will move. I will add a 5 pixel padding. Notice how the space got bigger between here. Let us add it like 50 pixels. Notice this. Do you notice this purple area? This is the padding. It is the space between the content and the border of the page, of the element. Okay. The next section is the border itself. We can set it for 5 pixels, 3 pixels. And the margin is the space. You see this yellow area? This is the margin. It's like how much should I take a space around me? No one is allowed to come near this place, or like this place is mine. Please, the next element, respect this place and do not come near it. Like here. You see? So the content mustn't never overcome in the tab. We can also, of course, override this using different positioning, but we will talk about it more later on. So have you get the hang of this box model? It's the hardest thing in CSS to understand at the beginning, but you will get the hang of it. Okay. So before we start talking about positioning, we will also talk about positioning while we work on the first task. On the first task, we will draw this character using only HTML and CSS. Okay, we will build it together. So let us start with what we can see in here, how we can approach this. Okay, to make things easier for you, we will list the components that we have in HTML, and we will go over it while we review this one and close this. Okay. You can see here the sample. I don't know this part. We have an eye. Okay. This is the second eye. This is the head. Okay. This is the Android ant. It's this one, and ant 1 and 2 regard for the right ant and left ant antenna. Ant is short term for antenna. And this is the body, the right feet, left feet, right hand, left hand. Let us start with the eyes, okay? Or let us start with the head. Okay, let's open it in here and show it to you. We'll start from an empty JSPen file, and we will work with you at it. So I will send you this so that you can work on it. Here. Try to work things with me while I am working on the head. Okay, just let me send this in the chat. Okay. So we need to work on the head. The first thing that we can see in the picture is it is built of a circle, right? Let's go back here. This is a circle actually, right? But it's only half of it, not all of the circle. So let us start by doing this. We will have dot Android head. Okay, the Android head, we will make the background for it to be let us put it black for now. We'll change the color in a moment. Let us set the width for it to be, let's say 300, let's say 120 pixels. And notice that it's not a set, they are not in the same. Let's put the height also as 120. Okay. After that, let us say, background. Just a moment. Okay. Oh, sorry, it was a typo. I forget to add the semicolons. Okay, so you can see here that we have created this box, but it's not what we want for now. We wanted to make it curved. This curve effect can be achieved by doing what? the round, the radius, border radius, CSS attribute. Okay, it will, let us set it to 50%. Anything after 50% won't differ, because if you send to me 100%, it is the same. Okay. And we also want it to be only for, not for both, all of it, all of the tags. We only want it to the upper part of the tag. All the HTML, most of the CSS elements have this option, which is to, okay, sorry. This is the template I sent it in the wrong place, sorry. I resent the template to all of you on the chat. Sorry for that. In the CSS, like if we open this, the documentation for it, let us open border radius CSS. We can see that we can apply it to different parts. Like we can apply it to the upper right corner, left corner, or only to a specific part. Okay, where we can see an example here. Here they say like left, right directly, or we can have it as in here. In 4 spaces, we always start from the top. The top I want it to be 0. I want it to be 50%. I want it to be 0 or 50% also. This one I want it to be 0, and this one I want it to be 0. For readability purposes, we can set it to right and set it only for. Sorry, right is here. Okay, top right. I prefer the first approach usually. It's easier to done. 0, and here is also 0. Okay, but do you notice it's too long for us? We don't want to be this long. We can simply shorten it to be like this. Oh, it's better now. Yes, let us change the color to the correct color. I think this color should be like, let's get it. Okay, great. So we have created the head for now. Let us add the eyes. The eyes are basically the same thing. Android eye. Don't forget the dot. It's basically we want them to have a white background color to be white, and width for them, let us make it for both of them 40 pixel and 40 pixel. Notice where it is positioned at the moment. This is the first thing. So let's put the radius also. I think 40 is also a little bit big. Let us change it to 15. Okay, notice now it's positioned at the top right corner, but we want to change this position. And here will come the other thing in CSS, which is the positioning, where how can I position these things? So we have different positions in the CSS. The most ones are, and we have static, relative, fixed, and absolute positioning. Static is the default one. Okay. It's like we always have things, or that the first element will get the entire row, the second element will get the will come after it and get also it's in the entire law, and they'll come in this way. They will come after each other in a vertical way. Okay, but the relative positioning is relative to where it should be at the beginning. We can move it to the right, move it to the left, move it to the bottom, like you see here. We set the position to relative. Yes, let us change this. We set the position to relative. It's here, it was at the beginning, but here we change it to the relative and move it to the left by 80 pixels. Notice how it moved here by 80 pixels. Same in here. We set the relative and set the left to 30 pixels. We move it to left by 30 pixels. The fixed positioning is like, regardless of where it should have been, we will always place it like at the bottom and to the right. Okay, and here we have left 80 and the bottom, the distance between the bottom and the yellow box should be 0. Okay, and between it and the right should be what? Here it's set it to 0, but it was overwritten due to the what? To the left property here. Okay, because it came before it get the 80 pixels at first. In our case, let us set it to absolute positioning. We wanted absolute. Absolute positioning is like, I have this bounding box. Okay. Relative to this bounding box, I can put the left and right, not to. Relative to my parent, I can put the distances. Let us see it in action to understand it better. Okay. Clear all the drawing. And here we can come. So the Android Eye, we will try to set its position to absolute. Okay, we want it to, from left to be, let's say, here we have 120, let us say 40 pixels. And from top, let us have it 20 pixels. Notice where the eye is now. Okay. Let us move it a little bit to the bottom, like here. And here we created the first eye. Let us do the same thing for the second eye. And we only increase the left by 80. Our shape is starting to take a look. Like we created the first part, the eyes and the head. Let us create the antenna now. The antenna will have something similar, but we do not need, the width and height aren't the same. They will be a bigger width. Okay, let us set the width for now. Oh, sorry, where is it? Oh, this one. Let's set the height for 50 pixels. Okay, and the positioning we want it from left to be 20. Just set this one to antenna. Okay, the border radius isn't correct. We want it to be only like 10%, I think will be more than enough. No, we need it a little bit more. Let us set it to 20%. Okay, and change the color to be the same as the Android body. Okay. Background, sorry. So now notice that it is in this position. We want to rotate it. To rotate it, we can use the transform CSS attribute. but I will assume that I do not know this info. So how can I know how I can rotate a thing in CSS? Basically, let's just see CSS rotate, and I can see W3 score reference at the beginning. And here is how I can rotate a thing in CSS. Okay, let us try to rotate it now. Do you see how now it got rotated? Okay, just I don't know why the color hasn't changed. Oh, sorry, for this one. Also, its position isn't correct at the moment. We want to move it not 20 degree. Let us make it minus 20 degree and leave it to white so that we can see it. We want to move it a little bit to the top. If notice that if I moved it to the top here, I set it to 0 pixels. The whole body need to be moved a little bit, right? So we will now talk about another thing. Notice this, the Android cont. Okay. We want it to be at the center of the page to avoid or to make things easier. Android font. To center anything in the CSS, there is a display property. Okay. We can set it to flex and justify content. I will just describe it just now. Center. Notice now how the head is centered, but these things got a little bit behind because I want to set the positioning of the Android head okay. Let us describe what we have done here. What we basically have done is like, I want only to center our Android. Okay. And I want, I suppose I don't know how to center element in CSS. Basically CSS center. Okay. And here we can see, this is a way that we can center things out. If we want, if you go with this, then we can center things, but let's assume that we don't. Okay, so we followed another approach that is called the display flex. It got introduced and it's relatively new. It's a way that we can simply, rather than displaying the content in the way that we used to do, element after element after element, we have them have each, how can I say that, get a whole block, and I can display justify the content as I want in this block. Like here we put it at the center. I can put it at the beginning. I can put it at the end. Okay. What we want is simply to put it at the center. And this is it for the position for the head. So for the ant, okay, we want to get this a little bit to the top. How we can do this? Simply by putting, okay, I want to switch the width and height. I want to make this 50 pixels and this to be 50 pixels. Okay, it's better now. And change the rotation degree to be 20. And move it to the left a little bit more. Okay. Like this. And add a margin here of 20 pixels. Okay. let us change it to the correct background color. And now we have our right antenna. Let us change it. Notice here how we have done it. We have antenna 1 and antenna 2. Why is that? Because the only thing that is different between them is the transformation and the left positioning. So let us create here antenna 1 and antenna 2. Both of them will have only the left property and the transform property. Antenna 1 is correct. Antenna 2, we will simply put it to -45° and at 80 pixels. Okay. Notice how here it covered the eye. We can simply set the Z index to be -1. Okay. So here we started to, the head started to take a shape. Now we will split to different rooms and work together on the rest of the body. We will work on the body. We don't need to create it completely. We only have 20 minutes. I think that will be more than to try to create the body at least and to get the hang of CSS. CSS, like we have more CSS property than HTML. We always make your W3 School your reference. Like the last thing that we did, it changed the Z index. And we can simply see how it's defined or how we can work with it. Okay, so let us go to breakout rooms now and try to create at least this body of it. And I have sent for you the template on the chat. You can use it as a base if you want. I will send the link for this JS bin, just a moment. I have sent also the link for the thing that I was working on. You can complete on it to create the body of this robot. Okay, let us go to the breakout rooms now and
Okay,
try to.
Yeah, I will start the breakout.
Okay.
Yeah, guys, please join your respective breakout groups and start the task. Guys, please join in our respective breakout rooms. Yeah, hi Omar. Self-aid. Yeah, hi Omar. Hello, Omar. Yeah, hi Amma. Hello.
Ramsey.
Yeah. And how much time left is needed, Omar, for the?
I think we still have 1 hour and 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
I will go through quickly through JavaScript
Okay.
and we'll show them a real life example
Okay, Omar.
of how they can actually like web development is a big word. It's really hard to cover everything in only 4 hours,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
we
Omar.
can.
I understand.
I will show them like after showing the JavaScript and how it is structured. They have the initial expression or the initial impression on how the web development generally works. I will show them how the market currently work and what is currently what's available in the market.
Yeah, Omar. Yeah. Okay, Omar.
Okay.
And actually, we are having a rainfall today. So
What?
we are having rainfall today, Omar.
Yes.
Some of the students are facing internet issues. They are saying that,
No problem.
yeah. They said that they will access the recording or they will watch the video on the YouTube.
Okay.
And thank you again, Omar, for giving us this wonderful session.
You are welcome.
Omar, when we will close the breakout room?
Just give them another 5 minutes. I'll check and
Okay,
then.
Omar. Yeah.
Okay. Hello, I think everyone has come back. Okay, so let's share my screen. So here you can see a cheat sheet, the same one for HTML, but this one is for CSS. You can see, I will just send it to everyone. You can see most of the topics that we talked about summarized in here. The only topic that we weren't capable of giving it its right is the display and positioning. I noticed while I was going through the sessions that just to clear some points, the display property as like how I want to display these elements. Like, do you see these elements? These elements might have an inline display or flex display, but it's a way how the element should be rendered or shown on the web browser. Okay. Here you can see the difference between each one of display types that we have. For example, when I set a display for flex, which I used previously, I am basically saying that this div must have a flex display and all its children will follow how this div shall sort or render the elements on the display. You can get the hang of different displays by testing different positioning, a different way out, but we will jump over it because if we want to go it, we need another 1 hour only for the display and the positioning. But we can test all of these outs on W3 School. They have a really nice way of describing it. Okay. So now we will talk about something I think that all of you will like more than CSS, and it's the core for most of web development currently, or something that developers really like. Anyone who tried to JavaScript will fall in love with it. It's a really nice language. And we will talk about its basic components in here and show sample examples on the code that we have done. The first thing for JavaScript that we need to understand about it is that it is a scripting language, not like C, which is a compiled language. A little bit like Python. Python, it's an interpreted language. Also JavaScript. So we can execute or test all of our code using the JavaScript console. You see here, this console is, let me clear. Here I can type anything that is I can type JavaScript simply like this, say that I want, this is how we print in JavaScript. We type console log and things that we want to print, and we printed it. Okay. The same way, like let's say I want to get an alert, and I will get an alert on the page. The console is usually used for debugging and making sure that everything is working correctly in our end. You can test things out also in here if you want. Here you can see the console. Let us now move everything, only leave the console and the JavaScript tab open on JSPen. Okay. Now we will talk about JavaScript data types. JavaScript, one of the things that you will find it really weird or different than C is that it's a typeless language, there is no type checking in JavaScript. Like, let us say if I define the variable, this is how I define a variable in JavaScript. I call let or const or var, but usually we use let for defining a variable and const for defining a constant. There is difference between let and var, but not that much important. Always use let. Okay, if we define x as a 1, and then we try to change it to be a string, I can do that easily. Okay. So if I try to console.log x run JavaScript, I can see the new value in it. Okay. We have different data types that we can use it in, generally have in JavaScript are the numbers, as you can see in here. This one here, and the other one. Just a moment. Oh. Okay. We have number as this one. Okay. We might have a string. We might have a Boolean. We might have a null. And we might have a undefined. And lastly, we might have an object. These are all the data types that are available in JavaScript. I assume that since most of you have a previous programming language where I will describe the syntax simply while we are working on the next example. Okay, and we will see how it's easy and simple to type JavaScript, and it's not that hard to get hang of it. Okay, let us work on the first example in here. While we working on it, we will see how JavaScript actually interact with HTML and CSS, how we can use it to build an interactive websites, like how when I open google.com, I click type here, do you see how these elements get changed? How when I click on a Google search, I initiate an action and call some things. And like this, when I click on this button, this text field is cleared, and this like that. Okay. So let us start with the first task, which is, remember the Android example that we worked on? Just let us open it here. We want to add 2 buttons to it. The first button is, we want to add the 2 buttons to it. The first one will turn on light mode. The second one will turn on a dark mode. Okay. We will simply switch between these 2. Now, let us type here. We want to add an HTML button. How we can add HTML button? Simply Google to HTML button. Now I can see W3 School reference. Let us get this and put it in here. And here I have an HTML button. Let us add another HTML button. And here I have 2 HTML buttons. Okay, but one thing, notice how they are not aligned under the Android. We want them to be aligned under Android. Let us move them where under the Android count, not here. See how they have now, it's not what we want. So let us get back to here. Sorry. We will define a div. And let us put both of them here. This div, we want to add a class to it. Let us say center, name it center. Okay, let us go to CSS tab, the center. How we center things in our previous example, we simply set the display type to what flex and justify the content, justify content to be center. Notice now how they are under the Android directly, but they are too close to each other. We want to add some space between them. How we can do that? Let us simply add to these buttons, like I want to add I want to apply it to all the buttons in the page, not only to these two. Here I can type button and set a margin of 5 pixels. Have you noticed how they became far of each other? If I commented it, notice how they change while I comment and uncomment the margin. The margin, as we said in the boxed model, let's inspect it. It is what is the yellow page that we see in here. This yellow page, it's the space between me and the elements around me. Okay. We want to type this as a light mode and this as a dark mode. Okay. Now we will talk about something really important for JavaScript, which are the events. If I click on here, I want to know that this button has been clicked. How I can achieve that? Simply by listening to an event. How I can listen to an event? I can add for example, the button, let's check it in here. Hi, HTML button events. Let us see what are the events that are available for the button or general events. We can see there should be a click one. Here is it on a click event. This like when I click on any HTML element, okay, I want to execute this JavaScript function. Okay, so let us get back here and define the onClick event and say switch or change mode. I want to give it a parameter of light. Notice that because in JavaScript, there is no difference between the single quotation and double quotation. Both of them can be used to define a string. Since I'm using double quotation in the outer scope, I use single quotation in the inner scope. Okay. And here, let us set it on dark. Let's go to the JavaScript tab. We first define a function. This function, we'll call it a change mode. And it receives one parameter, which is mode. Okay, I do not need to define the type of the parameter since JavaScript is a typeless language. Okay, now we will talk. Oh, I have executed. Let us check if this code are being executed. ASD or hi, run with JavaScript. If I click on here, I should see it on the console. Yes, it's being executed successfully. Okay. So now I want to change this form, this scene. How can this be achieved? Basically, let us go back to here and work only with JavaScript and HTML. This one I don't want it. This one I don't want it. Okay. So I want to change the background, let us say. How can I achieve this? There is a variable, global variable that is accessible by Java that I can use to access any element in the JavaScript, in the HTML document, which is called document. Okay, document. Inside this document, I can access any element that I want in here. For example, I want to change the background color of the body to be in dark. Okay, so let us set it. Document.body. This is the body element. I have getted it. Okay, I want to add a class to it. How can I add a class? If let us say in here, before doing it in JavaScript, let us do it manually. Let us set the dark class in here. You see it now? The dark, because I have defined it before. Just let me remove it. Okay. So if this body has the dark class, then what I want to change its background to be what? Black. Background to be black. Okay, it's working. If I remove this, it should get back to white. If I add it, it should be now in black. But also let us change the color of the text. Currently, it is set to something. Let us set it to white, which is FFF. Okay. I wanted to apply it to all the buttons under the body. If the body dot dark, and I want to access all the buttons in it, I want to change its color to be white. Okay, let's set it to something. Okay. Now, if I remove dark, everything came back to normal. I added it back. It's good. Okay, so let us do this in JavaScript. How I can do this? Simply, I have access the body. Just set it to class. If I want to access all the classes for this element, there is an attribute called the class list for it. It's an array where I can add any element to it. Let us say I want to add dark. Okay. L is capital, I think. So let us test this out. It should be here. There should be no dark. If I clicked on it, it is added successfully. So after that, I want to check if the mode is light. Then what I want to do, I want to not add, remove dark. Else, I want to add it. Okay. Let us put it in curly. So it's okay to do it the way I did it, but just to make everything clear for you. So let us test it out. Light mode, dark mode, light mode, dark mode. Okay. So what we have understood from now, how JavaScript interact with the HTML. The main way that it interacts with HTML is using the events. I have multiple events. I can only click on active. On active is used with forms and inputs. On disable, there are a lot of events that I can work with. Also, I can, the next thing that I need to understand about integration between JavaScript and HTML is the DOM. I can access all the elements in the document by simply using the document variable. If I want to access, like, to get the elements, I can get also elements by class ID. I can get elements by class ID, or I can also get them by ID directly. Get element by ID. This is how I can access different elements in here, and I can modify them as I want and apply any action that I want to it. Okay. Let us try to add the on-click event on the on-click event on this robot. When I click on it, I want to show an alert like, hi humans. Notice I didn't call any function since this is a built-in function. If I click on it, I should receive an alert with the hi humans word. Okay. Is everything clear regarding the JavaScript? How can I integrate it with HTML and CSS and JavaScript? So, okay. Now, these are the most basic elements and most basic description that we can give for the CSS, HTML, and JavaScript in the time that we have. I think that you can learn a lot, and there are quite a lot of resources where you can learn these in a really standardized and in a good way and have a good understanding of it. Now I will show you different ways like where I can implement the knowledge that I understand and the knowledge that I have get to build a simple website. Okay, let us start with, I want to build a form, as some of people asked me. This is like a available library that I can use to make my life easier as a front-end developer, or make the work faster, or make things way more elegant and smoother, and have a better user experience and UI also. Let us say that I want Bootstrap. This is called an HTML, CSS, JavaScript library that I can use that provide me with a list of available components that I can use at my website at easily by simply dragging and dropping code. I can like have an input form. Let us open the forms. I can create a sample form like this simply by copying this and adding it to my code. This is a I will show it now, but I'm only showing what components are available in it. Like, let's say, check how the buttons look. I can also outline buttons like this. Notice how when I hover on it, I see the color change or get filled. I can control the button size and things like that, all by simply adding class to the thing. Okay. And notice that I am mostly describing things as a point of a developer or a developer point of view. There are always ways that make the web development way much easier and faster. Like there are WordPress, if you hear about it. WordPress is a content management system where I can build websites really easily and quickly using it. There is a lot of drag and drop tools for it, but I'm simply showing some different things that you can do. We'll get back to WordPress. Let us now just build a quick demo for you using Bootstrap to see how things can quickly be done or achieved in it. Okay, this is a sample template that is built using Bootstrap. Or you can check this form, checkout form. Let us create something like this. Okay, you will create it from scratch using Bootstrap. Okay, let us get back in here. open this one here and go back to Docs. The first thing that I need to do, you remember that we talked about the CSS, we need to have it stored in some place, right? The first thing I need to do to add the CSS, Bootstrap. How I can add the CSS? Simply by adding the CSS file. Here they give me a link to a CSS file that is available on the internet. I can add it to my link in here. Let's check. If I open it, you can see all the CSS that is written in it. It's minified version, so you will see simply chunk of code. Like here is the class, this class margin X. It will set the margin on the X-axis of 1, which is 0.25 rem in Bootstrap. That's not important. So I added the CSS. Now I can any component I want from their reference in here. Okay, this like they use some JavaScript, although also some. Let us add the JavaScript in here. We used to type JavaScript in separate file, but I can also type it as the same as CSS. I simply type script. And I can now type anything that any JavaScript code that I want to in here, or simply load an old JavaScript file. Okay, let us now add a simple content. The layout is how they can organize our thing. Let's see here we have 3 columns, 1 column. Let us copy it as our base. Okay, this one. You see here 1 column, 3 column, 1 of 3, 1 of 3, 1 of 3. I do not need all of this. Move this one. Okay. And the example that we want to mimic, notice that we only have 1 column. There is nothing more. So let us only leave it with 1 column. Only they have here. I have a row, and I am aligning item to the centers. Okay. And this is 1 of 3 columns. Just I want to check something quickly. Okay. So just to make it better. Okay, so here we have 1 column. We want to add like, let's add a picture in here. Just show you. I think, okay. Do you see how the element got centered in, or the column got centered? If I add text center in here. Oh. It's now centered in the column. Now, sample text. And let us copy the image from the template. Let us here add the image. It's too big. We simply set the width for it to be 50 pixels. Okay. Let's put a paragraph text under it. Okay. So this is basically how we can work in, we simply see how we want the thing out, check the documentation for how the layout shall be, and we will do the thing that we want. Let's go to a form here, form control, add a sample form like this one. Okay, we will add, copy this, and here put it in. We can see that we added a form, but it's too big. We want to add another column to its right where we have this, have this cart. And this cart is there is a component in it for the here. So let's, I think, list group like this. We have added it in here. There is also something that I really suggest all of you to check, which is called Bootstrap Studio, where you simply drag and drop all the things that you see, all the things that we have called and discussed till now. It's basically be built like simply as a dragging and dropping things out. Let us create here. If we say, I was just wanted to show it from a perspective of a developer for you. Let's say here that I want to add an image. I simply click here and I can image next to it and add the image that I want. You see here that everything become as simple as a dragging and dropping thing once you get it. Let's see here. I want to see the styles for it. Here I can see all the CSS, but showed as a UI rather than the element attribute. As you can see, for example, I want to set the width. The width is set for 500, or I can set it, let us set it to pixels. See how it becomes small. And you can find a lot of templates that are available here for you that you can work on. And you can simply build the website that you want, export it, and check the code for it.
Omar?
Yes, I think we are past the time, right?
Yeah, no, not Omar. Actually, can we host the website in Bootstrap also?
Could you repeat the question? I didn't hear you.
Yeah, can we host the website in Bootstrap?
Can you push what?
Host, presently I'm hosting the website in WordPress, Omar. Can we host the website in Bootstrap also?
Oh, okay. You can, the Bootstrap Studio, no, you can't push the website or publish it, but you can find things like there are services like Niltify. Okay. You can upload any Bootstrap website you want on it. It's really simple and easy to do it. Just you simply come in here. Once you are done, you save your project. Okay, but once you save your project, you can upload it to Niltify, and you will have a fully functioning website that are available on the internet. Okay.
Yeah, Omar. Which platforms will you suggest for hosting the website? Like, Netlify. I mean,
Mm.
yeah, like Netlify and any
If you want,
another.
it depends on your website what it is. Like Meltify is really good for a pure HTML, CSS, JavaScript applications, or for a front end application, let us say. You can also, for more general purpose hosting service, you can also use Heroku if you want. Heroku is really nice also, and I personally I prefer Heroku over Netlify, but
Okay.
it's up to you. But all of these, both Netlify and Heroku, provide you the hosting as a يعني architect hosting as a service. They won't give you full access to everything, but they will make your life way much easier when developing and deploying your websites or setting up the server in itself. But if you want to set completely from scratch or start from scratch, go to AWS or DigitalOcean or cloud providers like them. But for fast and ease of use, Heroku and Netlify are a really good start.
Okay, Amma. And what is the difference between the WordPress and these web hosts? I mean, these Netlify and these all?
Okay, WordPress is like this. WordPress is basically an open source that I can download it. I can download it as, notice there are websites. There are WordPress.com and there is WordPress.org, I think, or .net, I don't know. Oh, .org. Okay. The WordPress in itself is an open source code. Anyone can download it and work in here. It's simply a ZIB file, and you can host it anywhere you want. Okay, but in case WordPress.com, it offer you a service that already do all the work for you. It hosts your WordPress website in their servers and provide you with a URL where you can modify it, or let us show it quickly, where you can modify your websites or do whatever you want. Oh, this is Chrome. Okay, where you can modify your website or build whatever you want on their platform. You do not have access to the source code. You only have access to the UI that they provided you with. While on your server, if you go to DigitalOcean or things like that, or AWS, Amazon Web Services, you will upload your WordPress. You will have set up, you need to set up your server. There are some Dockers or market images that do this for you, but eventually you are owning the server. You have access to everything in the server. You do not need to but while on WordPress.com, you do not it provides you WordPress as a service. It's like simply for end user, where you can directly move into building your websites and modifying it with no need to waste your time or effort on setting up the website or managing it.
Yeah, Omar. Actually, for this WordPress web hosting, how many members can access at a time? What is the maximum
Okay.
members?
It depends on your you can check it on their .com and their pricing. It will depend on the plans that you choose. Per month, per yearly, I think it's here somewhere.
I mean, actually, I want to know how to check I want to know how to check the website, that how many members can access the website at a time. Is there any way to check that, Omar?
And you can't check it directly. Like here, they don't have any limit on the website. Simply, if you use the personal platform, if 1,000,001 visit your website, it's okay, no problem with that. They don't have limit on traffic. They have limit on features. But if you are the one hosting the website, you need to check your what is your server specs or how your architecture is, like is there load balancer or things like that. If you want to check it out, you need to stress test your website. Try to Google for stress testing, and from there you can test the limits of your server. Test the limit of your server and see what is the maximum capability your server can handle. Service. Let me check on. I will send you a sample of a service that can do stress testing for you, but usually they are paid ones. They will. Your website will receive 1 million requests, and once your website fails, they will stop to send it. So it's a little bit dangerous to do in a live website. It's the more general approach is to see what is your specs, your server specs, what is the language you use, what is the framework that you use, and see some people that have done tests on with similar stack to yours to see the end result.
Okay, Omar. I mean, for any basic version, can it handle 10,000 members at a time?
Could you repeat the question?
If we take the personal package,
Okay.
can it handle the 10,000 members accessing the
Yes,
website
yes.
at a time?
They didn't mention any limit on the traffic. So yes, it can handle as much traffic as it receives. No problem with that.
Okay, Omar. Yeah, actually, I have a little bit doubts related to this. So, I mean, this is the best platform to others to know also that what is the web hosting at all.
I think that it will be, WordPress.com is really nice, but I prefer WordPress.org, where you have, it's the one that you download WordPress and have it. If you want, you can, for WordPress hosting, you can go to InMotion and test it out, WordPress.org. It is relatively good, and I have a good experience with them for the $7 per month, or the WPS 2000 will give you I think about 10,000 participant per at the same time, or things like that. So it's InMotion is a good solution, or they also have a really good support if you want to check it out.
Yeah.
It can handle up to 50,000 monthly visitors.
Okay.
I'll take the check that now.
Yeah, Omar, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, Omar, please continue.
So I was in Bootstrap Studio. Bootstrap Studio, it's really nice, and you can test it out whenever you want. It really make your life easier while developing. I don't think that I have anything left after Bootstrap Studio. There are a lot of frameworks, front-end frameworks that they use from React, Vue, Angular, but it's completely out of the scope now. Well, first, get a hang of the basics. The most important thing is the basics. Once you master them, you can go to more advanced things like front-end framework and things like that. As a resources where you can learn HTML and CSS and JavaScript, I highly suggest Codecademy. They have really good career path that you can go on, and you can test. Their platform is really nice. You can test it out to learn on it or get more info about HTML and CSS and JavaScript. And this is everything from my side as far as I think. And here is the sample code. You can all review it for the Android part. If you want to check it out. Any questions? Is there anything that you want to ask?
Guys, you can ask your questions through chat box or else you can unmute. I think, Omar, there are no questions. Did you get any direct messages from the participants?
No. Okay.
Thank you so much, Omar,
You are welcome.
for giving us this wonderful session. Omar, can we have a screenshot to make this moment memorable? We will turn on the videos once.
Could you repeat that? I didn't catch you.
Yeah, to make this moment memorable, we want
Okay.
to take the screenshots.
Okay, just a moment. Let me join from my phone.
Yeah. Guys, all of you once switch on your videos. Yeah, nice. Volunteers mainly, you have to open. I think it's a very long session. I think you're all tired. Just a 2 minutes. We will wind up this session. Yeah. ఇంకా ఎవరు చేయట్ల videos. Very good. That's nice. Just a minute. Omar will also join. Yeah, Omar.
Yes, just a moment.
Yeah.
Recording in
Okay, can you see me?
Yeah, Omar. I can see you. Just a minute. Taking screenshot. Just a minute. Yeah, Omar. Thank you so much. Just
You're
a
welcome, Vamsi.
Yeah, 2 minutes. We will wind up this session. Lohika, please carry on.
Thank you, sir, for the most interesting and useful workshop. Now I feel more confident that I can do something new. Thank you, sir. I request P. Tanuja of 2x4 EC to propose a vote of thanks.
Good evening, one and all. I am P. Tanuja of 2x4 from the Electronics and Communication Engineering. I deem it's a great honor and privilege to propose vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. I thank our chief guest, Omar sir, for stack development at Davastar. I also thank our well-wisher, Dr. T. Venkateswara Rao Garu. I also thank our Dr. R. Satish Garu. Especially gratitude to all the other staff present here. I thank all the distinguished invitees present here accepting our invitation. Lastly, I thank all my friends for your cooperation in making the session a resounding success. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Omar. We will end this
Thank you,
session.
everyone. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys, for your cooperation and long work and long participation in this workshop. You can leave this meeting. Thank you, Omar.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.